This is Behind the Swipe, the podcast that takes you inside the lives of real men and women over 40 who have taken the plunge into the often murky and sometimes exhilarating world of online dating. Each week, we explore new topics through the experiences and expectations of real online daters just like you. I'm your host, Hoyt Prysock. Join me as we peel back the one-dimensional dating profiles to discover the real men and women behind the swipe. So you wake up at age 52 realizing that for the last 25 years, other than walking the dog and the occasional yoga class, you've been ignoring a major part of your health and well-being, fitness. To be fair, time and energy have, for the last few years, been in short supply. Since the divorce, you've had primary responsibilities for the kids on top of a full-time job. How in the world are you supposed to fit in an exercise routine? But you know that the status quo is unsustainable. Your metabolism is changing. You've done the research and know that the commitment to strength and aerobic conditioning are your key to thriving in the coming years, so you're in. You join a local gym. Sure, you can do this by yourself. I mean, how hard can it be to read the instructions on the weight machines and jump on the stationary bike? Done, right? It's not that easy. The statistics show that up to 90% of people who join a gym and commit to making real changes quit after just 3 months. It's depressing. But this episode of Behind the Swipe is not about physical health. Today we're talking about your emotional and relationship health. More specifically, getting back into the dating pool. Building a profile and launching yourself into the online dating world can be even more intimidating than commencing an exercise routine, especially if you haven't dated in years. So many unknowns, so many questions. Just as hiring a trainer to tailor your fitness program to your exact needs and capabilities can increase your odds of success dramatically. My guest co-host today, Jennifer Hurwitz, says the same thing is true for dating. Jennifer is known for her no-nonsense approach to all things relationship and is proud to say that she's made quite the career out of disastrous circumstances. Her divorce. She's a relationship expert, dating coach, best-selling author, and award-winning Doing Relationships Right podcast host. With her 2 boys off to college, Jennifer is now beginning the next phase of her life, empty nesting. It's Gen 2.0. Her 3rd book, Midlife Priceless, A Dating Coach's Guide to Finally Doing Relationships Right, is out now. Jennifer keeps busy with helping her clients find love and creating content for her viral TikTok and Instagram platforms with over 8 million combined views. Find Jennifer on Forbes, Oprah Daily, Bustle, Women's Health, Scary Mommy, and more. Jennifer, thank you for being here today. I am so excited about this one.
I am so excited to be here. You have no idea. I've waited for this. I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
I've got to tell you first, I have to confess to podcaster envy because I've been listening to Doing Relationships Right. I love it. And you are just the consummate pro with this.
Oh my gosh,
I so appreciate what you've been doing with that.
Well, I have to tell you, I feel the same way about you. I think I'm listening to your show. I'm like, God, he's really good at this. How long has Hoyt been doing this? Because he sounds you sound really good, professional, all like edited and perfect. I'm like, you know what? You come on the show. This is pretty awesome. I love it. I love it.
Well, thank you so much. Let's just continue this love fest for the next 40 minutes.
I would love to. Speaking of love and relationships.
Yes. So tell me how you got into all of these businesses that you're in.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll make it really simple. I got divorced. There you go. Period. End of story. Yeah, I did. I got divorced. I was, a stay-at-home mom. I raised my kids. And then I got divorced and I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I have to do something. This was, wow. Oh my gosh, 10 years ago already. I've been divorced. And back then, everyone's like, oh, I have the new book on nesting. I have the new book on bullshit. I had it then. I had it way back when. You know what I'm saying? Like I was already doing this stuff 10 years ago, 20, and I needed to make a career out of something that I had, and that was it. So I started writing. I wrote my first book. I started my podcast. I wrote a screenplay, shopped my TV pilot out in LA for a while. just kept going and building. And here I am. Make it short and sweet.
And so a big part of what you're doing right now is individual
I
coaching
love it.
for people who are trying to get back into the dating world,
It's
right?
my favorite part. Yeah. I
Yeah,
started off as a certified divorce specialist and I was working in the divorce genre, really type working with people going the co-parenting and going through
right.
the divorce part. And then I realized as my life evolved and I got into like a happy relationship, I needed to be in a happier spot. So then I started working with other people that were dating, getting out there because I'd been through it and I understood it. And I was like, I lived it, so I get it. And I think my clients appreciated the fact that I was going through it with them, dating and stuff.
Tell me, Jennifer, so you run across people who say, I'm a dating coach
Oh yeah.
online,
Mhm.
well, particularly on social,
Sure.
all the time.
All the time. We're everywhere.
And, I don't remember that from like 10 or
Oh yeah.
15 years
No,
ago. I mean,
no,
is
no
this a
way.
new phenomenon?
It is. And you know what? This is crazy. The divorce rate is not going up. I don't think it's getting higher. I think we're just getting more knowledge. We're getting more open about it. People are talking about it. They're looking for help. They're looking for assistance. And the number one thing when you get done with the divorce and you're feeling better and you're doing the work on yourself and you're ready to get out there, everyone's looking around going, okay, this is really different. Wait a minute. This is a totally different ballgame than when I was, before I was married. What the fuck am I going to do now? I
Uh-huh.
need some help. And I think that's where we came from. The divorce coach came from just the need for, people needed help. People needed help. And I was like, you know what? I've done this for a really long time and I know to. And I've made some really huge mistakes. And I don't want people to make the same mistakes I made.
Oh,
And
that's
that's
that's just perfect advice, right? I mean, if you had not stepped in those holes, you would not
yes.
be able to tell people how to avoid them, right?
Exactly. And I feel really strongly about this. I wouldn't go to a divorce attorney or a divorce coach that didn't go through a divorce. I just wouldn't.
Mhm.
So I feel like if you're a dating coach, you kind of have to go through the shit. You have to go through the awful relationships. You have to date the yucky ones to understand how it feels when your clients are going through it. I kind of
Mhm.
feel strongly about that. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, it's kind of my jam. I get it. I get it, you guys.
So to tee this up, I'd had the opportunity to interview a woman that we'll call Amy,
Okay.
who had been divorced for a couple of years and found herself back in the dating pool. And I want to play just a little bit of her story
Okay.
and then have you and I come back and talk about it. So the first thing I asked about was that divorce.
Divorced, yes. August was 3 years. I was separated for about 8 months before. My divorce was pretty quick and easy. We used a mediator. Very amicable divorce.
And so how long did you hold off before thinking about dating again?
I didn't wait long because I got married at 22 and it was way too early. I knew my ex-husband since I was 12. We didn't start dating till right before my senior year of college. And we were together a long time, although we were great friends and it was more of like a roommate situation really. And I look back at it and it's probably not what a marriage should have been. Not that there's any special mold for that, but it really was not an ideal situation. So I was not really emotionally in the marriage that I wanted that connection with someone. And I come from a family where my parents had the most amazing marriage of all time. That's always was the bar for me. So when I got separated, I just wanted to date right away. Like I just really was looking to meet and have that emotional connection with someone. So
And
I was pretty quick out of the gate. Like I started dating probably like after I got separated, like 2 months later, which was way too fast. Oh, I thought I was going to meet a ton of people. I was like, this is going to be easy, because when I got separated and my friends knew that I was unhappy or really was ready, I'm young. I'm going to be 49 next month. My kids are older for my age. I have a career and everybody's like, oh, this is going to be easy for you. I'll meet somebody. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have no problem. I was in for the shock of my life. It is not easy. I don't care if you look like Christy Brinkley or the opposite. It is not. I think it's all personal. It's like a personal thing. It's not easy.
so you went on Bumble and you went on Hinge and you had some success with all of that, but Amy, when did the disillusionment really start to kick in?
I just felt like the type of guys I wanted to meet were not on the app.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to meet someone who was established in their own life.
Right.
And I felt like it was just a lot of games and a lot of nonsense. And nobody was just like, okay, let's just do this. Let's meet, let's talk. And it was a lot of, I wasn't looking for a pen pal. I could have had 7,000 pen pals by now. It's hard. It's really, really hard. I feel like if you know what you want, or you think you know what you want, or you have an ideal, it's hard to get everything that you want, of course, and you can
Uh-huh.
sacrifice certain things. But even trying to do that, after a while, I was like, oh, this is just, it became upsetting after a while. Like it was just a drag.
Boy, Jennifer,
Oh,
I have heard that story in one form or another
how many times have you
for
heard it?
years.
I know. I know. It breaks my heart. I'm sitting here and I'm like shaking my head and I'm nodding and I'm saying, oh my gosh, that's basically every one of my clients that comes to me.
Yeah.
And they're frustrated and they're to the point where they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like dating has become work.
Yes.
It's a struggle. It shouldn't be a struggle and it shouldn't be work, but you know what? It needs to be intentional. You need to be intentional when you're dating. But the problem is that it's like, there's that middle ground of when do I stop and give myself a break because I can't do this anymore?
Yeah.
And when do I hire someone who makes it more fun? Because that's really what I try to do. I try to make it more fun for you because it can be really a struggle.
And
Really
and a
can.
big part of that is just the internal work. And I want to get
Yes.
into, the second half of the show, I want to get
Sure.
into exactly what your process is here. But so going back to Amy
Yeah.
and listening to her story, gosh, I felt this myself when I was when I was divorcing, I was coming out of this and I felt like I had been trudging through the desert. And all of a sudden, here's this, what looks like an oasis out there, right?
Absolutely.
And you throw yourself in and it's a crazy, wild ride. You have no idea what to expect. And so, for her, she didn't have any idea what to expect, but based on what she was hearing from friends, which is common also,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That, oh, girl, you got this, right?
It should be
Just,
so easy. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're this, you're that. You've got it all together. No problem. Get on the apps. Go, go, go. And then you're inundated with a bunch of, it's just this crap of like, things that that you don't want. Right. Well, as dating coaches, we have tricks. There's a way to do it. We'll talk about it later, but like, there's a reason why we're here. We know what we're doing. Right. And our job is to make sure that doesn't happen to you right out of the gate. Because look, it happened to me. I did the same thing. I was like, oh, this will be easy. I've been married for 13 years and I've got it all together. But it doesn't matter. It has to be both sides, right? It has to be both sides. And you have to be in the right place and you have to be in the right frame of mind. And the new thing now is the trend is you have to use your words and you have to say what you want ahead of time so you avoid all that, those pen pals and situationships and the textationships. We can talk about that later too. But
yeah, oh, sure.
yeah, I mean, it's a mess.
Yeah.
But dating coaches know. We know how to cut that off at the pass so you avoid all that disillusionment ahead of time,
So in a post-divorce dating world, it's
Mhm.
you'll typically see this almost euphoria
Mhm.
at the early stages
Absolutely.
because, people coming out of these long-term relationships that might have been loveless, right? Or
Oh,
or
absolutely.
even
Sure.
worse, right? Or even
Right.
abusive.
Absolutely.
And you get to this place and say, "Oh, somebody's paying attention to me." You know? I remember, and this is not part of what I have to play for you here with Amy, but she was talking about essentially, she didn't define it as such, but it was a rebound
Of
relationship.
course. And usually the first one out of the gate is.
Yep. And she had thought that, "Oh, this is the new love of my life. I'm done.
Yep.
I'm
Happened to
settled.
me
I'm ready to
too.
go."
Happened to me too. Yep.
And in her case, it was the guy that she was seeing that said, time out.
Yep.
Right? You haven't sown your wild oats yet. You don't know yourself in this world yet.
That's right.
So let's just take it easy."
Right. And if she had come to me or if she'd seen a dating coach or a therapist, they probably would, or listened to a friend who had been through a divorce, they probably would have all said the same thing. Look, you're right. Take your time. You take it easy, girl. Hold on. See you in a year. See you when you're ready. But you know what? When you're going through it, you don't want to hear that. You want to, no one's going to tell you what to do. You're ready to get out there. But here's the point. You have to go through it to understand it, right? So no matter what happens, you're going to do what you want to do, unfortunately. And whether that ends up with you getting hurt or getting a little stung, it happens, right? But then it's funny because you come back 2 years later, you're like, God, I wish I would have listened to Jen.
Yeah.
Or I wish I would have listened to myself because that first relationship, oh my God, it was awful and blah, blah. But you know what? It's true. You have to be ready. And it's not as much about, I tell people this all the time, my clients do. It's not about the when, it's about the why. Why do you want to date? What are you looking for? What's your goal? Is it to be in a long-term relationship? Is it just casual sex? Is it just to, fill that void? Whatever it is, know your why. Know your why when you're ready to start dating.
That's probably the most important piece of advice, isn't
right.
it? If you come out of this with nothing else, understand your why.
Know your why.
Yeah.
And look, if it's just for casual sex, go girl, go guy, do it. Just own that, but know that it's going to come with maybe a couple of repercussions down the road.
Yeah.
You're not going to get into a long-term relationship with someone who you just want friends with benefits, right? So don't beat yourself up down the road.
That's great advice. So typically when somebody's, you reach this peak of euphoria and then you sort of trail off until this valley of drudgery, right? Is that typically when somebody says, I might need some help?
Well, you know what? Hopefully, or they go to a friend or they are just they see some dating, on TikTok, a dating coach or whatever saying, and look, there's so much free information out there. There's podcasts like yours. There's podcasts like mine. There are so many, oh my gosh, books and everything. But I think you have to get, just like your intro said, you don't wait to be at your worst condition to find a trainer, right? You find a trainer when you're like, you know what? I need help. I need help with this. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's when you find a coach. That's when you say, you know what? I think I really do need someone's unbiased opinion, right? Sometimes friends can tend to be a little judgmental. Your parents, your family, they're judgmental too. They mean well.
Yep.
But you need someone who's going to be your cheerleader and build your confidence and your self-esteem. And that's what coaches do. That's our job.
And as we heard from Amy, the friends that were giving her this advice had not been walking in these shoes.
No, they're not. And they see it from a different lens, right? Divorces are like snowflakes, right? Each one is very different. So unless you go through it in your own, you're looking through a lens of your own, right? They're looking through it from the outside saying, oh, some people say the worst things. I wrote a chapter in my book about that, like just toxic positivity, but like too, it's like, the extreme, like, oh, your ex-husband was horrible. Anyone you date is better than him. Right? Like, okay, thanks guys. Right. That kind of stuff. And you're getting that. They don't mean to be mean, but it's hurtful. Right. So, we got you. Coaches got you.
So in the dating coaching world, it's very different it's not matchmaking.
No,
right?
It's not. I'm so glad you said that.
So help me understand sort of the real difference here.
Okay. So as a coach, we set you up for success from the jump. We are like, we know what we're doing. We know the tricks. We know the tips. We know all that good stuff, but we don't have a database. Okay. So we're not there. We work on one side of the relationship. I'm coaching just one person. So let's say Amy, I'm just coaching Amy. I'm helping her set up her profile. I'm helping her pick her pictures. I'm doing her bio for her, which is my favorite part. I'm writing the bio. That's like my jam. I love it. But I'm not going to set her up on dates. I don't have a database to look for her perfect match on the other side, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a matchmaker. So if you're looking for a matchmaker, that's a little bit more pricey. They vet people for you. They have they set you up. You go out on dates, blah, blah, blah. It's not a coach. Now, there are some matchmaking companies that also have coaching services. That's awesome too. You just have to make sure that you really do your research because it's not one size fits all.
Yep.
And some coaches are great with some people and some coaches are great with other people. Some are just for men. Some are just for women. Some are just, it just depends.
Well, let me ask you about that, Jennifer, because, I want to ask you two questions here. The first one is, there seem to be so many dating coaches out there, and there's not a national organization that certifies dating coaches.
No.
So anybody can hang a shingle out there. How does somebody determine whether they've got somebody that really knows what they're doing? How do they make that decision? Is it
Okay.
based on a TikTok?
Well, I think first of all, it has to do with personality. If you click with the person, if you listen to their podcast and you think that they know what they're talking about, that's first. Secondly, there are life coaches and people that are certified. I'm a certified divorce specialist. I also have a degree from Michigan State in family and child ecology and all that good stuff. And you can look up whatever. But I also think that a lot of clout comes from what they've done with their life experiences too, what they've gone through, what they're going through. Coaches need coaches too. So I also have a coach. I have a therapist, but I'll tell you this for free. I am not a therapist. So I work with therapists. So if someone comes to me, like, let's say Amy, and she's right out of a divorce and I do not think she's ready to date, and I think that she's not in the right mindset, I have therapists that I will send my clients to first. So I work with really great therapists because I'm not one. And I'm not emotionally, I'm not certified to do that. So I think it's really important that if you see a coach, that they're honest and they don't take you just for the money.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not in a place to date, they shouldn't be coaching you. I really feel strongly about it,
So it sounds like that's very similar to, we opened the episode here with the analogy to physical fitness and a trainer. But if you present yourself after not exercising essentially forever, like the first thing that a trainer is probably going to do is say, go see your GP.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Get checked out. Make sure you understand what your limitations are.
Your blood pressure, your
anything
cholesterol.
corrected that's going to prevent you from achieving your goal here.
Absolutely. Because if your mindset isn't such that you're prepared to get out there and date and you're not good with yourself, how can you be good with someone else? How can you give 100% to dating if you're still in that negative, horrible, angry space where you're still bad-mouthing your ex?
Yes.
I mean, if someone comes to me and they're like, oh my God, my ex-husband is a piece of shit and he's a narcissist and I'm like, whoa, okay. No one wants to hear that on a first date. Plain and simple. Period. You're not, no one wants a negative Nelly or a negative Nathan. People want to show up. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to the date. It's not fair to anyone you're talking to. You have to be positive in order to get someone positive on the other side. It's your vibe.
Right.
Manifest positivity. So,
and if somebody's throwing shade, it doesn't matter who they're throwing shade at. No. You see yourself as that one that's being shaded somewhere down the line, right?
Oh my gosh, right? I mean, I've sat across from dates and they're ripping on their ex-wife and I'm like, I'm out of here. They can't say a nice word. I'm like,
check, please.
That'll get me next. Gotta go. So yeah, I mean, it's just, but back to the dating, getting coaching and how do I think you get a feel for it too. I think if you talk to someone, you reach out to a coach and they seem shady, it's kind of like dating.
Yeah, exactly. You develop a sixth sense around that, right?
You get that weird, icky feeling when your hair stands up in the back of your neck. Don't hire them. Don't use them.
So what about the difference between coaching men and coaching women? Because that's got to be really a very different experience.
It's so different. Okay, so men, I get male clients because they like to have a female perspective.
Yes.
So that's really cool for them because they're like, tell me what you would do. Or, okay, Jen, this, you know what this girl would do and blah, 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 blah. That's really neat for them because they want to talk to a woman about women, that's awesome. But some guys like to go to a guy because they've been through it and they feel the camaraderie and the bond to a male. Same with women, right? Like women are like, nope, I need to girl power. I got to get this. This girl knows what she's talking about. So I think it just depends on what you're looking for. I coach both. I love coaching both. It is different coaching guys. It's different. They're way more into, I'm just sorry to say this, guys. They're way more into the physical attributes first.
Yes.
They come to me, they're like, I need a blonde. She's got to be 5'10". I'm like, whoa, okay. And they're like,
she's got to be really good in bed.
Right. And she's got to be great in bed. She's got to be under 22. I'm like, okay, listen, you're 60. I'm not, let's put that age up a little bit. Let's at least go 35. No. I'm like, oh, that's it. You're fired. Whereas the women come to me, they're like, okay, I want a kind soul. I want someone that's in. It is really interesting. Yeah. I love it. It's really interesting. I love this podcast, by the way, because I'm telling all my secrets, but It is a really interesting,
Yes.
and, women are more like, and a lot of times they're like, I need someone with a good job, financially stable, but it's hard to, you're not going to write on your profile looking for someone with money.
Yes.
Ladies,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
God's sakes, please stop, like it just, girls.
So at least in my experience,
Yes.
and in the experience of a lot of the guys that I've talked to, it's
Mhm.
it's like you come out of this divorce and you put yourself back in the world, and you're like a kid in the candy shop for a while, right?
Until,
And then you realize that's not giving me the depth that I'm looking for.
no, oh,
Right.
good. I'm glad you hear that though, because, well, also, don't you get a lot of, I got to go on forever, but there's the whole side of like the pictures don't look like who they are.
Yes.
And everyone's using filters and blah, blah, blah. That's I get that all the time from the guys. I went out with this girl. She looked nothing like her pictures. I'm like, well, okay, guys. Yeah, but it's, you want someone who's portraying who they really are. Right. And as a dating coach, that's my job. I hold my clients accountable. That's another thing a coach is really good at, holding their clients accountable. I'm not going to let you put up pictures that are not legit.
Again, back to the
Trainers.
trainer
Yeah.
analogy, right?
Yep.
That's exactly right. So, Jennifer, this is probably a great time for us to take a short break. And then when we come back, I want to hear from Amy again. And then I want to understand some of the specifics about how a good coach works with a client.
Awesome.
I hope you're enjoying Behind the Swipe. It's been a true honor for me to hear from so many of you how much you appreciate the work we're doing. But we need your help to spread the word and grow our audience. And there are two things that you can do right now that will be so meaningful to us. First, Apple and Spotify rely heavily on listeners' ratings and reviews to decide which podcast to recommend. So please do so in your app now. And second, if you know someone you think may enjoy Behind the Swipe, please share a link from wherever you listen. Thanks again for all your support. Now, back to the show. All right, so we are back on Behind the Swipe with Jennifer Hurwitz. Jennifer Hurwitz is the podcaster behind Doing Relationships Right. She's got best-selling books. She's got an amazing presence on Instagram and TikTok, and she's one of my new favorite people. Thank you for being here again.
Boy, you're my favorite person too right now. This is so fun. This is like one of my favorite interviews, I think, of all time. I'm loving this.
Oh, thank you.
I'm loving it. Thanks for having me.
So
I'm really good at this.
When I talked to Amy, when we met in the first half, I didn't disclose that she ultimately ended up working with Jennifer. And so she talks about that a little bit. And I was asking her a little bit more about her post-coaching experience, or
my gosh,
the experience during the coaching process. So
I'm
let's
nervous.
hear more from Amy. So when we heard from Amy in the first half of the show, she was beginning to feel frustrated and a bit disillusioned. She went on to talk about having read your book, One Happy Divorce, which I think the full title of is One Happy Divorce, Hold the Bullshit, and then reaching out to you. She told me that working with you has really been transformative for her in her dating life, not just in making the profile more authentically representative of who she was, but in really helping her focus on what she wanted and what her non-negotiables were. And I want to talk about both of those topics with you, Jennifer. But I asked her what she tells friends now about why they might want to consider working with a dating coach. And here's what she said.
A lot of these people are talking to friends and therapists and probably getting many, as I did, different pieces of advice. And it's very confusing. And if you just take that small bit of money and you do maybe one app, and you have somebody that you could rely on who's not involved emotionally with you and isn't your friend who didn't like Joe Schmo who you dated or this or that, and somebody who's really coming with a blank slate who could really help you and figure you out. I think what you're going to pay for at that point will help you successfully date over time, and even your confidence. And someone to set you on the straight and narrow than being all over the place and hopping on and off apps. That's what I did in the beginning. I was paying for this app, that app. And really, when you just break it down, it's like you go and it's like one-stop shop. and it's all there. And I think it's better because someone's really helping you fine tune your own situation rather than a guessing game with friends or anything like that, or just playing on the apps and getting
Yeah.
frustrated.
Jennifer, you can hear the difference in confidence in Amy, right?
I have to tell you, I'm getting emotional. I'm like tearing up. When I get a call from a client or I really am getting emotional when I get an email saying that they found someone. Just recently, one of my clients got engaged. It makes me really happy. So I'm glad that she had a good, thanks, Hoyt, for sharing that.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I just love talking to Amy, and I heard so many women's stories inside of her
Yeah.
story. And that's what I wanted to kind of unpack. So she talks a little bit about this process with you. And she talked about, and I think this goes back to what we were talking about in the first half of the show, which was understanding what it is that you're really trying to do. And you frame that as understanding your non-negotiables. Tell me about non-negotiables.
So I love the non-negotiable list. I'm really big on it. When I meet with my clients, we obviously talk about their dating habits in the past, their goals, their past relationships. We break down their personal health and wellness and their daily activities and their hobbies. And they fill out a whole questionnaire with me and we talk in general the first meet, call that a meet, but then we talk about their non-negotiables and they make a list for me. And I want them to get as specific as they possibly can about everything that they would, if they found the perfect person, right? And then what they will not negotiate. And sometimes my clients come back with like 20 things that they're not going to negotiate. They're like, I have 20 things. He can't be over, he has to be over 6 feet. He has to have blue eyes. He has to drive a Chrysler, whatever. And those are not non-negotiables, people. Those are things that would be nice, but non-negotiables to their core, to your core, like must be a certain religion, must, I get a lot of politics now that are very non-negotiable, like must believe blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Must have children out of high school, but like those are big, not like lives in the state. I won't travel long distance. Those are non-negotiables. And those are important, Hoyt, because those are things that I'm going to hold my clients accountable for. So for example, if someone says to me, I'm not dating anyone long distance, Jen, I'm not going to do it. And then they get on Match.com and they meet this awesome guy and he checks all the boxes and he's amazing. And she comes to me and says, Jen, he lives in Texas and she lives in New York. And I'm going to try it. I'm going to try long distance dating. Oh no, she's not. No, not under my watch, because you want to know why? It's not going to work. She's not setting herself up for success at that point. Because her non-negotiable list when she met with me the first time was, I'm not dating long distance. So why, in God's name, would you come to me and tell me, even though he's hot and gorgeous and checks all the boxes, that you're going to date someone in Texas if you don't want to date long distance? Am I making myself clear?
Yes. So in this hypothetical, maybe it's not even a hypothetical, right?
Whatever, yeah.
Yep. But in this kind of situation, if there's no way that this woman is going to uproot and move to Texas,
she told me, yep, you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. No matter how much lube you put on it, you can't beat it down. You just can't do it, right? So there's nothing you can change. No matter how great this person is, if he has kids, for example, he has kids in middle school and you are an empty nester and you tell me, Jennifer, I'm not dating anyone that has kids in middle school. And then you come to me 2 days later and say, I met a guy, he's amazing. He's my person and he has kids in middle school. You just see what I'm saying? These are my clients. I've got clients that are like, because what you're saying to me is, I'm going to settle.
Yeah.
I'm going to settle, Jen. It's okay. I'm going to settle. No, you're not. Not when you're working with me. You're not. Because there are people out there that will fit those non-negotiables. And you can only choose 5. You can't.
Oh, that's interesting. So tell me more about that. Because what struck me when I was first hearing this concept, and it made so much sense to me, was that, so I was listening to Arthur Brooks, who's the happiness expert. He's got a new book out with Oprah, and I just love listening to him. He was talking about how the online dating world creates this scenario where you can define your requirements all the way down to the nth degree so that you're looking for someone just like you, and that never serves you well.
Never serves you well. And that's the thing. You cannot sit there all day long and pick and pick and pick and pick, because that's a person who doesn't really want a relationship. That's a person who's making excuses internally for like why they really don't want to be in a relationship. Because if you say to me, this person has to have 20 of your non-negotiables, that person's not out there. That person is never going to be over 6 feet with blue eyes, living in Texas, do you see what I'm saying? You've got to find someone. You've got to be like, plus the chemistry, plus the great in bed, do you see what I'm saying? It's 5 non-negotiables, your big ones. I get it. Right? I can work with that, but you're not going to be successful if you're constantly, searching for perfection. Look for the perfectly imperfect, right?
Oh, that's a great way to say that, Jennifer.
There's someone out there. There are people out there that are checking most of your boxes.
Yeah.
And as far as chemistry goes, if there's not a spark on the first date, I don't care. Go on a second one. Go on a third one. If he or she checks so many boxes and fits those 5 non-negotiables, like, you see what I'm saying? You can build chemistry, especially at our age, especially after divorce. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You get to know someone and all of a sudden you're like really in like with their person.
So what are some of the common non-negotiables that your clients come to you with that they have at number 5 that you're trying to demote down to 6 or 7 or?
A big one, a really big one. And people do not, my clients do not, they fight me tooth and nail for this one. I want to date someone, can't be bald.
Really?
It's a big one. Has to have hair. So,
they rule out the guys with the baseball cap pictures, right?
Yes, every one of them. And the problem with that is that, first of all, they're crazy. Am I allowed to say that? Because here's the thing. There are so many men. First of all, you're dating after divorce. Okay, let's be honest.
Yes.
We're in our 50s, right? We're late 40s, 50s, 60s. You're going to have bald men who are fantastic. Okay? Fantastic bald men. I'm like, girls, for the love of whoever, please do not swipe left on every bald man, because, right? Or the other way, I get men who say they have to have big boobs, or I'm a breast guy. Okay. Guess what, guys? Okay. Please, for the love of, those are the non-negotiables that I'm like, I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to do it. Those are not, you see what I'm saying? Physical things like that. But I have women who are adamant.
So I love that. So now they've got their 5, right? And so
5.
You teach them basically how to filter everything through those 5 and then really look at the whole picture.
Right. But I also help too, because here's the thing. So if someone comes to me and they say, I want to date in my religion. I only want to date a Jewish man. Mm-hmm. And then they say to me, or a Christian guy or whatever. And they say to me, well, I'm going to go on Match.com or I'm going to go on Hinge. There are so many people that are not that religion on those big, right?
Sure.
But they make niche apps now. They make the most niche, beautiful niche apps. JDate. They make Muzmatch for Muslims. They make Christian singles. They pool everyone together. Do you see what I'm saying? Even for herpes. If you have herpes, they have Positive Match.
Right.
Right. So like you can set yourself up for success by finding an app that is perfectly fit for you. You're not going to change someone. Does that make sense? I have clients that say to me, that's okay. I'm going to go on Match. I'm going to find a guy who's not Jewish and he's going to convert. I'm like, oh my, why are you putting yourself through that? Right. Or it's okay. I'll find someone who's, I got to think of it, not Christian who will, same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's hard. You're making it difficult for yourself.
Conversion to Catholicism or something, right?
Right. Like
that
it's
kind of thing.
Right. Or, he has herpes, but it's okay. I'll work around it.
You're kind of putting your own speed bumps in front of you.
Exactly. Don't make it hard for yourself. Make it easy for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do, that's the kind of thing a coach would know. Like I have apps that are great for different reasons, right? And I know tricks to the apps and I can help with the algorithm, like all that stuff. That's what we're there for. So
let me ask you, this is a kind of a slight diversion,
Sure.
But I've always been curious about, because you were talking about the different apps. Mm-hmm. Do you, as part of your process with people, based on who they are and what they're looking for, do you tend to say these 2 sites might be better for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked me that. Yes, I think there are 100 I'm wrong. I don't, how many apps are there? A lot.
156.
Oh, did you know that by heart? 156? Okay. So in those 156, you definitely, there are apps specific, like better people, right? So, I was working with a client who is she's brilliant. She's a professional. She is, I hate to say high quality. Very against that high quality, this one high quality. It's just,
Yeah,
it makes no sense to me, but she considered herself high quality, whatever.
sure.
And she didn't want to waste any time, you know? So there's an app called The League that is specifically, specifically for high power people who consider themselves like in a different bracket. Does that
Right.
make sense? Where you have to literally like, not audition, but interview to get on the app.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was more her speed. That's what we did. Then there's your dopamine apps. I call them the dopamine apps where you get that little rush of dopamine and oh, it's so fun. Tinders, Bumbles, the sliding apps. Those are really fun. I think everyone should pick a dopamine rush app and then one that they invest in, like a Hinge or an OkCupid. I don't get kickbacks, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm a huge OkCupid fan. I'm a huge Hinge fan. I love Coffee Meets Bagel. Those are the big ones. I like Match,
Yeah.
but you have to know how to use them, right? There are so many. But yeah, I mean, like if you're gay, there's amazing apps for you. There's straight, like there's just it's a world of apps, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great advice because I
Yeah.
was actually a little bit confused with that because really, other than dabbling a little bit with Hinge, I felt like my whole Bumble experience was just so great for me
Oh, good.
that I never went anywhere else.
Well, you're good. Then
Right.
stay there. Don't go
Yep.
anywhere else.
Yep.
You know what? People love Bumble because the girls have to make the first move.
Mm-hmm.
So I like Bumble. I'm a big fan.
Yep.
I really
I
am.
think for me, it was kind of a crutch, you know, it's
Of
like,
course.
okay,
Of course.
I don't have to be quite that forward.
Yes. Yes. It's nice, isn't it? Just to sit back and let someone else it's nice. It is.
Yep.
I like Bumble a lot.
Yeah.
And Hinge I like because it's prompts, which are
Oh, right.
kind of fun. So I just wrote an article for Bustle, like the 18 prompts for a long-term relationship. And like, so I love helping people with their prompts because it's not a bio.
Yes.
It's kind of more fun.
Yeah.
Where OkCupid is like a deep dive. Like they're giving you like 100 questions. You don't have to answer all of them, but you know that when you invest on your side, the other person's investing on their side.
Right.
Which is
Well, that's a really good point, right?
Yeah.
And people talk about that with the free versions versus paid versions,
Yep,
right?
same thing.
Where you say, oh, no, I'm going for the paid and I want to connect with somebody that's on the
Yes.
paid because I want it to be that important to them.
Exactly. You're both intentional. You're
Yeah.
both intentionally showing up. You're dating. You're putting the money in. You're putting the effort in. That's the same thing that people say about taking pictures.
Mhm.
When you put effort in on your side and you get your professional pictures taken, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. Well, she's putting work into her profile. I can also teach you how to take a really good selfie. I mean, I've taken selfies where my photographer will call me and she's like, did you switch photographers? I'm like, no, it's a selfie. It's easy. It's easy to take a really good selfie these days.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Take me back to the beginning of the process. So
Okay.
somebody is saying, this Jennifer sounds like somebody that I would really resonate with. So somebody reaches out to you. How do you start that process? Because
Oh,
it's not that you don't take on anybody that just comes to you. You've got
No.
to feel that connection as well.
Yes.
Right?
So, I'm a little different because I hate to say this, I'm not like a hard sell. I don't reach out to people. I don't, I really want people to like being with me. And I'm like, I want them to enjoy the process of dating.
Mhm.
And so when someone reaches out to me, I do I call them meets and I also call dates meets. I don't believe that first dates should be longer than 20 minutes, half an hour. That's a whole different thing. But, yeah, so someone will reach out to me and they will, set up a call and we'll talk and we'll chit chat and we'll figure out what package works for them. I have packages, but I also have something really interesting that I love that most of my clients love. It's called an Ask Me Anything. I'm giving this away. Don't be stealing this, everybody. It's an Ask Me Anything session. So for $99, you can get on a call with me for half an hour and ask me anything. Just ask me anything. So people love that because it's not a commitment. You don't have to buy 12 packages or 12 sessions. And let's say that you're on a date or you have a date coming up or you just went on a date and you are freaking out. You don't know what's going on. You can literally go on my calendar, book an Ask Me Anything sesh and talk about it.
Yeah.
And people love it. And I love it.
I mean, that sounds perfect because they can just save up. Hey, here are the things I'm confused about.
Yes. They make a list. And what they do is I tell them, cram everything you can into that half an hour. And they love it. I also have something that I think is really cool. It's a text only. So for, whatever it is for a week of texting, you can text me during certain hours. Like, I think it's like 8, 9 in the morning till 9 at night.
Yep.
Anything you want, anytime you want. So let's say that you're on a date, and I've had guys do this where they're on a date and they're like, okay, she just went to the bathroom and she said something that I think is really, I'm not sure, but I think, and I'm like, okay, no, she did not mean that. Like we're texting on the date, which is really cool. Guys love it, because they're like, I need help right now. Or the girl's like, I think he wants me to pay the bill. I'm totally not paying the bill. I'm like, okay, that kind of shit, which is real fun. So, and if it's less of a commitment, which I think people love.
Yeah.
But I also have sessions, your typical packages and that kind of stuff.
Well, let's say that somebody wants all Jennifer all the time.
Oh yeah,
right?
They can get me.
I'm going to go all in.
All in. That's what my package is called. The all in. The all in package. Yeah, they get 9 sessions and we meet once a week and I'm real flexible or whatever, but they get to I do their bio. I write their bio, which is honest to God, my favorite part. And we pick apps and sometimes I'll date for you. Sometimes I'll actually go into your app. I have done this a lot. I will go into the dating app and actually I always pick the pictures. You send me the pictures. I'll fix the pictures. I edit, but I don't use filters.
Yes.
I'll help you pick out what you're going to wear for your whatever. I'm very honest because that's my job. If I don't like a picture, I'm telling you to take it down. And then I set you up basically for success. I mean, I do all of your, non-negotiables with you. We talk that's my job. And then,
and then there's the feedback part of it.
Oh,
right?
I love it. Yes.
So, so tell me about that post date or post meet.
Yeah.
Debrief kind of thing. And what it is that you try to get your clients to gain from that, to learn from that.
Well, first of all, my clients typically after they go, it's so sad because I lose them. I lose them when they meet someone. So I'm like, it's sad.
And that's your goal.
And that's my goal. I'm like, okay, they're happy. I'm happy. And then we're friends. We always end up being friends but it's fine. I want to keep them focused. My job is to save you time and energy and keep you focused. I don't want them in situationships. I don't want you to be a pen pal to someone. So if my client comes to me and they're like, well, we've been talking in the app for 3 weeks. I'm like, oh, no, then I haven't done my job. I have it's very methodical with me. You meet someone on the app, right? You chit chat for a little bit. You get off the app onto, you start texting. You set up a FaceTime or a Zoom call. You meet in person for 20 minutes and that's it. It's within a week. If someone doesn't ask you out within a week when you're dating, when you're working with me, it's a no-go. I don't want anybody wasting time. There's no reason. If you're talking to someone and they're not responding to you, they're not giving you feedback and they don't want to they haven't asked you out, you're done.
Right. They're just in it for a different kind of entertainment.
That's
basically.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And so I'm not going to let you waste your time. That's basically, so if you call me up, we're talking for your next meeting and you're like, I'm talking to 3 guys. No, you're not. I'm talking to 3 guys. You're either out with one of them on a date that week or we've moved on. You don't have a lot of people you're talking to when you're working with. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So
I move quick.
Who are dating coaches not for? We know who they're for. We talk a lot about that.
That's a great question. They're not for people who are, can I be really honest? If you're not willing to hear a little bit of, I'm not a tough love coach, but I'm kind of a tough love coach. You have to be flexible and you have to be okay with some critique. It's hard. It's hard to hear why you're not, because a lot of it is very personal.
Yes.
It's hard.
It has to be.
It has to be. I think if you are set in your ways and so set in your ways that everyone that you go out with is not your person and I'm not going out with him again and she's just not my type. If you're that person where there's no one in the universe that's going to fit then dating it doesn't matter if you have a coach, it doesn't matter if you're online. It's just not, you
If
need to
you're
take a
not
break.
ready for it,
If you're not
essentially.
ready.
If you're not ready to evolve in this
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. If you haven't done work on yourself and gotten to the place where you are healthy and ready and in a positive mindset. And also, let me just say this. If you're scared, if you're anxious, if you're really, I have a client that I worked with for a while and she's just like, Jen, I love the bio you wrote. She had professional pictures taken. She's a beautiful woman. She's not ready. She's not ready. And she's just like, Jen, I appreciate you for not pushing me. I'm not going to push. I'm here. I'm sitting here. I have nowhere to go. And she's like, can I get back to you? And I said, my God, yes. She's just not ready.
Yeah, just put it on the shelf.
Put it on the shelf. She's really
you will know
nervous.
when you're ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know she's scared. I think a lot of women also are very apprehensive. It's a scary, I mean, in my book, I wrote about my 10 worst dates I ever went on. They were scary. There were a couple of scary dates.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy. It's scary.
No, it's not easy. And while it is a lot of work, it can be the work itself can be rewarding.
Yes. And I met my boyfriend on Match.
On Match?
I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you. 6 years. 6 years and a little bump in the road, but yeah, 6 years. 6 years, a little break there, but everyone needs a break sometimes.
Everybody needs a break sometimes.
Even coaches screw up.
Well,
Jennifer, I wish we could talk for another hour here. This has been so fun for me.
So fun.
And listen, I've learned so much from this. I really appreciate your sharing your wisdom and giving away all the good stuff here on my program.
I'll teach you how to take a selfie. Don't worry. There's a trick.
So before we go,
yes,
tell people how they can get your book, how they can find you online.
Oh my gosh, I've made it really easy. My website, jenniferhurwitz.com. Everything's there. Everything. You can connect to everything. So that's it. Thank you for having me.
So follow her on Instagram and TikTok. Go check out her website at jenniferhurwitz.com. Get her book. This is a fantastic lady, and you all know that by now after almost an hour here. So, Jennifer, I appreciate your being here.
Oh, I loved every minute. Thank you. Thank you.
I have to confess that when I started working on this episode, I was a bit of a skeptic about the value of retaining a coach to help you find love online. I suspicioned that this world was filled with hustlers and charlatans all trying to separate the most needy and vulnerable among us from their hard-earned money. And while some of that may be out there in this wild west of the internet, Jennifer Hurwitz made me a believer. She is so down to earth and so authentic while still not hesitating to speak the hard truths and hold her clients to account. I see it. I feel it. I get it. Yes, you can do this on your own, and most people will. But you can also climb Mount Kilimanjaro without a Sherpa. But I don't recommend it. Thanks again to Jessica Hurwitz for sharing all her tips and insights. I learned a ton, and I hope you did too. I'm Hoyt Prysock. Join us again next week for another episode of Behind the Swipe. Until then, swipe fearlessly.